Okay, I ain't gonna hold you, but if you would please allow me really quickly to provide some context so that you can understand my approach with today's video. There's a topic area on YouTube where financially educated people come on here and they tell poor people why they are poor and what they need to do to escape the cycle of being poor. Now, typically these videos are from accountants and of course millionaires. And with that, they start their video off by telling you all of their financial education, all of their accolades, all of the different high profile investment firms and banking firms that they've worked for. And in doing so, their purpose is to establish trust, right? To make it a point to let us know that because of the background and the education that they have, we can trust the information that they're about to share with us as it pertains to helping us stop being broke. Okay, here's the bottom line. The majority of those types of videos are bona fide trash. If you're going to give me a video topic that tells me how to escape the cycle of living from paycheck to paycheck, by the end of the video, I expect to have at least 1 or 2 actionable items that I can get up and go and implement immediately based on what it is that you're telling me you're qualified to do and what it is that you're going to teach me to do. But that's not the case with these videos. And so today, what I've done is I have taken the very tips from those videos. I'm going to give you all of the examples that they gave. And then I'm going to tell you why those tips would not have worked for me while I was living paycheck to paycheck, and why in some instances the information would have left me in a worse off financial situation than I was already in. But in addition to that, I'm going to tell you what I actually did. Okay, let's start off with the very first tip that I got from one of these videos. Tip number 1 was start a side hustle for instant earnings. Okay, then it went on to say immediately after that, a millionaire has 7 different income sources. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pay special attention to the instant earnings part, because that's going to be very, very important here in a minute when I start to give you these examples. So in the video, the person went on to list some examples, and I'm going to put them up here on the screen. They went on to list some of these examples to help you get started with making instant earnings, putting money directly into your bank account as soon as possible. Okay, I'm going to give you those examples. Number 1, web design. Number 2, social media management. Number 3, editing and writing. And number 4, virtual assistants. Okay, the problem I have with this is that none of these examples are going to result in an immediate paycheck, simply because all of these examples require you to get clients and to also have very specialized skills. The majority of us cannot get up from where we are today and start to pitch web design services. If you aren't a good writer, you can forget about being a good editor. If you have had the internet cut off in your house, it's highly likely you won't be able to provide services as a virtual assistant. The second issue with this is the comparison to a millionaire. It's unattainable, it's unrealistic, and it's unnecessary. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. My goal is to have more money left over by the time I get paid again. Here was my exact strategy for bringing in more money as soon as possible. I did gig work. That gig work consisted of delivering packages for Amazon and driving for Lyft. I got paid once a month at the time. Once I paid all of my bills at the beginning of the month, that was it. This is how I managed to juggle my gig work. I delivered packages for Amazon on Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and occasionally on Sundays. I couldn't do anything on Thursdays after I got off work at my full-time job because Thursday was football night for my high school son at the time. So Thursdays was off limits. Thursdays belonged to him. I drove for Lyft also on Sunday afternoons because I learned that that was the time when people were going to brunch. So I could make more money driving for Lyft on Sundays during brunch time, doing far less work than I would have been doing delivering Amazon packages within that same time frame. And I also got good tips, okay? So all of this was very, very strategic. It wasn't something that I just jumped up and did and tried to figure it out after I had already signed up for it. Okay, the second tip that they gave says to prioritize saving. Please tell me how, if I don't have any money left over after I pay all of my bills. Where is the money to save going to come from? Here's the problem I have with this. When you're telling someone to prioritize saving and there's no money left over, you're making the assumption that the person isn't managing their money correctly, and you're making the assumption that the person is living above your means. This is what I had to do. I had to adapt as my money priorities changed, and I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that. I had a high school son who was also a football player. So from August until May, the majority of my money went toward his needs. I had to pay for breakfast and lunch at school. I had to pay for the meals after the home football games. I had to have gas to be able to travel to the out-of-town games. There was money for fundraisers, and the list goes on and on and on. After the football season ended, then I would have just a little bit more money that I could allocate toward other things. Shortly after that, the school year would end, summer would begin, and so then I would have a higher grocery bill in the summertime because he's home all day, as well as a higher electricity bill here in Texas. So it became a matter of knowing how and when to shuffle my money around, what time of the year I was going to have to pick up more of those Lyft and Amazon shifts and pitch myself more for speaking engagements. You get where I'm going with this? It was never a matter of not prioritizing saving, living paycheck to paycheck. It was always a matter of prioritizing where my money was going to go. The third tip was reduce your spending. The video said, make good decisions and only buy things that you need. This implies that when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not already doing this. The video then went on to list the following examples of things that you can do to reduce your spending. Here they are. Stop eating out. No, I will not. As long as outside food exists, I will continue to eat outside. When I was working all of those different jobs, my time to cook was very limited. So what I had to do was figure out and identify the places where I could get the most bang for my buck to feed me and a hungry teenager. Back then, 2-piece Tuesdays at Popeyes was $1.19. I knew exactly how many pieces of chicken that I could buy so that we could have dinner that night, and then my son could have leftovers for after school snack when he got home the next day. I made the sides. I didn't buy the sides, okay? So this assumption that people who are living paycheck to paycheck are going and blowing $150 on eating out for every meal, that's just not true. Next it says, get an affordable car. This would involve, I'm going to say, the person assuming that you have a car payment and that you can just go to the dealership, trade your car in, not be upside down, drive off with a car with a lower monthly payment. Or the other tip that people love to give, sell your car and then go buy a car for cash. Please tell me how I'm supposed to do that if, again, I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I don't have any money left. The third example was find a cheaper place to live. I don't even think I have to harp on this. We all know how much easier said than done that really is. And having, the privilege of being able to just pack up and go to another city because it's cheaper, if that was an option, more of us would be doing it. The very last example it gave was to spend less on groceries. If I were to have spent less on groceries, I would have just stopped buying them altogether. At this point, you want me to sacrifice nutrition in order to be able to have more money left over. That is just very, very out of touch. I'm going to tell you what cutting back on spending looks like for somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck. For me, I stopped going to the dentist. That's how I reduced my spending. I hadn't had an eye exam in years because I couldn't afford to go and get new eyeglasses. But you end up paying for that on the back end because for the past couple of years, I've been trying to get caught up on my dental work, and that has resulted in a root canal, fillings, thorough deep cleanings, and all of this stuff. But for us, when we cut back on spending, that closely resembles and reflects us having to neglect something that we shouldn't be putting off to begin. Tip number 4 says, limit your credit card usage. Only use credit cards for emergencies. Well, here's a news flash for you. When you're broke and struggling, every purchase feels like an emergency. You are pulling out that credit card not knowing if what you are about to buy, something that you need, is going to put you over the limit and result in late fees and everything that comes along with that. This is where I learned the game. Master the maxed out credit card. At the time, I had one. I got on the phone with Capital One. Hello, Mr. Customer Service person. Can you please tell me exactly how much I can carry on my balance without going over the limit once my interest rates are added on at the end of my closing statement date? Once I started to make more money and I started to use my credit card less for necessities, I was able to start to pay my balance off. Regardless of what I've said today, I know that there are still going to be those people who have never been in this situation, but who can sit back and tell us everything that we are doing wrong and all of the things that we need to do to correct this problem. This video isn't for them. Breaking the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck doesn't happen overnight. There are a whole lot of people on the internet giving advice from a place that they've never been, sharing their opinion about experiences that they've never had. And if you don't take away anything else from this video, I want you to know that your situation is only temporary. Give yourself some grace, be gentle with yourself, and don't give up. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Click on my videos tab, find another video to watch, and I'll see you back here again soon.